the largest ancient castle complex in the world, a 750,000 square foot old world palace, the Prague Castle. Here we go. During the 800s, we are supposed to believe, during the Dark Ages, where Europe was in the middle of a population decline, loss of literacy, they couldn't read, and centralized government. This is the booming 800s, that this castle in Prague was supposedly constructed. The mainstream history tells all of us that Prague, in the 800s, the exact time that the Prague Castle was built, the settlement around it was extremely small. Scholars or archaeologists, these people suggest that only a few hundred to maybe a few thousand people lived in Prague. Like nobody. So you have to begin to ask questions. You have to stop and think logically. How in the world did a few hundred, maybe a few thousand people construct the largest ancient castle complex in the world? How is that possible? A 750,000 square foot palace complex. A few hundred, maybe a few thousand people. We have to ask, since a large percentage of this small community would have been children, they would have been elderly, or people that don't have any idea how to construct a palace. This is the 800s. They were literally trying to survive. Who were the master builders according to the mainstream narrative? This kind of logic doesn't matter. Their story takes none of this into account. It never has and it never will. What school did these people go to learn how to construct this? A 750,000 square foot complex where 30 to 40% of basically nobody would have been under 15 years old, where they also had a life expectancy, this is what we're being told, of 30 to 35 years old. So by the time somebody finally learns how to build a palace, they would have been gone. This story is insane. This story is crazy. Since they're able to supposedly pin down the date of 870, not 869, not 871, but exactly 870, they should be able to pin down the guy that built this. So who is the master builder? Who is the architect? No architect, no builder, no designer is associated with this foundational stage. They have no idea who built this. Their story doesn't add up. It has zero factual evidence. They just make up dates, they throw stories around, and expect us all to just accept it. And of course they tell us that the Prague Castle was destroyed by a fire multiple times. So we get the nod, we get the fire, where it was destroyed multiple times in 1142 and 1541. They know all about the 1142s. No, they do not. Saying that there's also other times that this happened. Why don't they know about those dates? It's ridiculous. Each time it was destroyed, we are told that it was rebuilt with records and logistics, workers, and how they paid for it, how it was financed, all missing from the history books because it's all ignored. How are we supposed to get behind this and believe any story at this point? They're not making it easy when you start breaking it down. They don't give us any factual data. There is no actual evidence. Who is pinning down the date of 870? We are told that the date 870 comes from the medieval chronicles. These were written centuries later, centuries after, by the people that were never there. Hundreds of years later, where we go down here and see that our timeline once again, the 18 and 1900s, they dated the masonry. And there it is. Our civilization's beginnings, over and over and over. We see it all over the world, where everything begins in the 1800s. Exactly like we said all along. Going back years, going back to episode 10, where we're now closing in on 500,000 views on that one episode alone. It's amazing. And all it's doing is getting more and more people behind it. If we were wrong, we would have been done a long time ago. But we all know it. We're just getting started. We have this foundation, the 750,000 square foot palace in Prague. And that thing's amazing. But then we got to look at the structures that are within its walls. And this is when everything about the mainstream narrative just comes crashing down. We're just getting started today. Welcome to episode 149 of my lunch break. I hope you're all having a great day. And if you're new, welcome. I want to thank all of our sponsors over on Patreon. Thank you to FlatEarthDave.com. You can check out his app, the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac app. I'll put the link right in the description. And you can use my referral code, MLB. If you click the Tartaria button, you'll see the My Lunch Break playlist right here. The app is awesome. Thank you to Rebecca K, David and Sherry Ferguson, Chuck Templeton, Joy Lee, Stephanie Nolan, the Burlesons, Edwin Rice, Charles Kruger, Dan Woodall, Dale, DJ Clicktrack, Jacob Law, Jim Ribley and Christine Duggan, Kyle Glasscock, BKTFnews.org, Ben Dries NL, Natalie Shippenoff, Melissa Edgar, Biggles, Clayton Lamar, Double Task Homestead, John Adams, Robert Sozolins, Attila Power, Forbidden Gecko Love, Justin Grobner Grubb, Leah Strong, Dakota Dunn, Jason Hochberg, Marie C, Michael Dingyu, Patriot Armory, C3SCOB, SoniaDane.com, James Alt, Jason Press, Miggs, Mark Chapman, Muji and Declan, Ariana Oates, Nathan Burbuck, Ski, Beacon of Truth, Liberty's Arborist, Thomas Thorpe Peterson, Zinger Coffee and Tea, EvelynMcGregor.com, Emily Maryland, Curious Cat, Mike D, etc., Dan McGee, Lori Hedvig Johnson, Ellie Annie, Seth Craigo, Glenn Gunderson, Mousie's Mouse Cheese Records, Robert's Brain is Gone, Extreme Reality Check, Late for Dinner, Eolo Goncalves, Blake, William Richard Jeffries V, Dax Bilchek and Son, Dylan Mugenberg, Robert Petro, Katz Hill, Susie Q, Yark 143, GOL, Doc Halo, Kenneth Putt, Brenna Fernandez, Paraduction, Necrodemonics, A&W Kerrigan, Rod Wah, Sweetest of Peas, Corbin Mechanical, Making Bigfoot, Road Warrior, Bruce Latour, Codrenth, David and Irene, Ivan Apoctoli, Ardra Rogers, Brazawayan, Armin Walker, Ivan Apoctoli, Maybell, When He Set a Compass Upon the Face of the Depth, Laurel L. Burnett, Hoppy John, D. Woods, John and Carlo, Bill, Vince Moreno, Flat Earth Herbs, The Lady Lacey Show, Sven Eric, Tom O'Hara, Ducks MDF TFV, Gabriel Spark, Donovan Bodkin, Danya Lucas, Jeremy and Amy, Annika Joyce, The Arnolds, Henry's Mom, Digital Strategy, Earth Daughter, Norman Slater, E. Hamur, Harvey, First Class Forklift, Bradford's Donkey Wagon Deluxe, Ernieho, Brendy's Brenna, Backyard Rob, Brian Whitaker, Trevor Cashin, David Torres, Lucy, Tiba Shaba in the Darkness. You guys are all awesome and helping this channel out a little. The entire story about this construction and how it happened and when it happened, it's all coming from this character that's most likely just made up in the 1800s as well. Cosmas of Prague, a supposed Czech priest, a writer and a historian from the year 1045, like 1,000 years ago. And even if this character did exist, it's still an account from 200 years later. This is not an eyewitness account at all. This is the drawing. This is the mainstream history's evidence that this guy was real. If you ask me, the evidence is overwhelming. It's clear as day. The debate's over. The guy was real. We are all told that he died on October 21st, 1125. He supposedly died at 4:21 p.m. and there was a little breeze outside. They just know all about the 1125s. No. What lies underground at Prague Castle is gonna blow the world's mind, and you'll never unsee this. There have been archaeological excavations at the site. They have revealed multiple older layers of buildings. Buildings underground that were supposedly older than the structure that we can see. Not only this, they are finding Romanesque royal palace foundations below the later Gothic palace, stone walls that are unusually massive for their time. They found crypts and tombs under the ground, where the St. Vitus Cathedral has extensive crypts and royal tombs underground, including giants, like we have seen so many times, oversized sarcophagi, just like we saw at Saqqara, Egypt, where they just pinned it to bull tombs with zero evidence that a bull was ever even there. No bones, nothing. where many of these areas that we just stated, these areas remain sealed from the public view in Prague. They have also found tunnels and passages underneath this castle. Not all sections have been mapped publicly, and we know all about this. How are they constructing all of this in the supposed Dark Ages, with no people constructing tunnel networks, building underground buildings? It doesn't add up at all. And now we can just rip the whole thing wide open, where we see that St. Vitus Cathedral, located on the 750,000 square foot castle, where a king and his son laid the cornerstone. Where we know all about the cornerstone, we know all about the sons. It's very interesting. Where the main designer dies and Peter Parler took over. The same guy that's pinned to the Cologne Cathedral in Germany. So we'll be investigating him. They tell us that construction just drags on for over 600 years, until, of course, 1929. Our civilization just had to come in and save the day. What do you think? Do you seriously think they needed our help? Or do you think this was found? And this story is completely made up. And they destroyed something in the supposed restoration/completion project in the 1920s. Because it looks pretty done to me. The scaffolding, just like we've seen in Greece, it looks like a propaganda stunt. This thing is incredible. We are told that there is even earlier churches, multiple, underneath this one. 2 older churches underneath this one that we can see. A rotunda and a larger Romanesque basilica, all under the ground here, underneath this structure. Now, are these actually older churches, separate churches, or are they just proving that these structures are buried under a layer of dirt and much bigger than we can see? There are also crypts and royal tombs underneath the structure. Beneath the current cathedral is an extensive crypt housing the remains of Czech kings, Holy Roman emperors, and saints, and I'm sure other things. Because this is the location that holds oversized sarcophagi, where it's not open to the public today and remains sealed. They say rarely, but we all know they aren't opening that thing up for us to see. Unless maybe they're listening today and are gonna let us in. Prague, if you hear this, please let us see what's under the ground here. It would be incredible. Comment below if you'd enjoy seeing that. For the first time since the Donkeys Inc. Club took a trip to Prague in the 800s, they constructed this palace and rolled over to the next city, population of 10. It would be awesome to go underground and see where all of this connects to and what's down there. And maybe it would even prove that this guy was real. Maybe he's just buried down there next to his donkey with his wooden wheels and a hammer. This is unbelievable. Our Donkeys Inc. Club is growing. I've just ordered another wagon because we're gonna need it. And thank you to all of our badge members. Thank you to all of our Patreons and every single subscriber. When you subscribe, you're helping this channel grow to new people every single day. I can't believe how far this channel's come in just 149 episodes. I appreciate all of you. We are on YouTube. We're on Rumble. We are on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Spotify. If you're looking for even more content from us, check out the detail on this thing. It's constructed by a civilization that was primitive, we are told. Yet, I haven't seen one of these go up in my town. Not even close. In fact, I think the HOA would probably block it. There are physical entrances underground, staircases, trapdoors, and service openings. There is one formal access point, but it is controlled. Many other passages are sealed up, and public glimpses are limited. You need official permission, which I would love to have. We are told that when the castle itself was first constructed in the 800s, there were like 1,000 or 2,000 people here. And this makes total sense. No, it does not. It doesn't make any sense at all. Then in the 900s, when the first rotunda underneath this palace church, when the rotunda was built, there was like 3,000 or 4,000 people here, with an average lifespan of 30 to 35 years. So these palace rotunda builders, according to their story, they're like teenagers or in their early 20s with no training. Then we're told that the Romanesque basilica that is also under the ground, under this palace and off limits to all of us, was built in the 1000s. where the mainstream history is telling all of us that there was perhaps 5 to 10,000 people total, including babies, that were not constructing anything. The 1300s come around and they finally say, okay, the rotunda is done, the basilica is secured underground, and now's the perfect time to finally get a palace constructed on top of it and block everybody off from what's underneath. 1300s. There was like 30,000 people here. A population of 30,000 people made it one of Europe's major cities. This is nothing. 30,000 people is nothing. A major city of 30,000, where we see towns of 30,000 people all the time today. And I guarantee you, you're not gonna find a teenager that's ready to roll and knock out one of these. Yet they did it all the time in the 1300s, according to the mainstream narrative. Just palace after palace, like we've shown. Just a guy and his sons. Anybody can do it. Never a mistake, ever. And it's done with perfect geometry, every single time. Could you even imagine, and I'm gonna be serious right now, could you even imagine finding one of these palaces that were a little off? Like a corner's just off a little bit, and you're like, yeah, that does look like a 1300s palace. Yeah, the door's a little squint. The stones aren't really proportionate. Have you ever seen one? Every single time, it's perfect. It doesn't make any sense in the story that we're given. What if a donkey brushed up against it and bumped it a little bit? Never. Not in the 1300s. Could you imagine a foundation just settling into the underground rotunda just a little bit? Maybe the teenagers of the 1300s took the chisel and swung and missed just one time. Look at the window in the front. It's like it was cut with a 3D printer. Not some random 18-year-old that never gets any credit. Imagine them just lining up these teenagers in the 1300s and saying, all right, which one of you can chisel a palace? Anybody? No? Nobody? And then they'd have to go and pick one. It is total nonsense. The story is made up. There isn't a single ounce of logic in any of these stories. It's never backed up by actual evidence. They know the exact year, but they have no idea who constructed it or helped. There's no blueprints and no financial records. There's no construction companies. There's no shipping companies. And there were no power tools, they're telling us. You would think that there would be an all-time great that would travel the world to be in multiple stories in different countries because he hit the hammer to the stone perfectly throughout his time. It's just nobody. Over and over and over. There was a previous civilization here before us. A civilization with power, intelligence, technology. And their buildings are still here today for all of us to see. All over the world. The other thing is that the St. Vitus Cathedral isn't the only incredible structure within the walls of this massive castle. We also have the old royal palace, St. George Basilica. This is also completed in the 900s, we're told, as well as fortification. It is a location that is clearly created by the old world. So many underground networks that are being restricted to us. Underneath palaces that don't make any sense in our timeline. If you are going off the story that we've all been given, why block these locations off to us if you're telling the truth? You would never hide anything. So you have to ask the question, what is going on underground here? What are they still hiding today that would shock the world if we open the door and walk through?